Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is REGANELITE here. Hello everyone. Welcome to the 50th episode of the Snowflake's Corner, where for 50 live streams we have covered the news from outside the UK on this show. Thank you guys for helping me reach 50 episodes. It is absolutely fantastic. We have a lot to cover. We have the Romanian election. We have the Iceland election. We have the Irish election. We have the crisis that's just taking place in South Korea, which we will cover first thing as well. If we have time, we'll also cover some bits on Ukraine, as well as Syria, and perhaps a little bit in America, if we have. There is a lot to cover here. I've got actually, altogether, I've got like 8 stories, but a couple of videos as well to cover as well. I'm just going to adjust my mic because I've noticed I'm going. There we go. Hopefully it won't be so boom, 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 bam, 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 loud. Anyway, so there. So let me do my usual stick. Welcome to episode 50 of the Snowflake Corner, where we cover news from outside the UK. We are dual streaming live on youtube.com/REGANELITE and on twitch.tv/REGANELITE1. Hello, everyone. We are recording this on the 3rd of December. Hence the Christmas jumper, 2024 at 6 p.m. Sorry, 6 p.m. I almost said 8 p.m. 6 p.m. UK time. Yes, I do have a Star Wars one, and no, I have not been watching much Star Wars recently on Disney Plus because I don't have Disney Plus. So I'm sorry, guys. As well, Jow here, good to see you there. Yep, someone gifted you a membership. Yep, it was Steve McMorran who gifted 5 memberships at the end of the last live stream. There, so. Very nice of him to have done so. So you got gifted a membership there. So that's awesome. Alistair Keir, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, 50 episodes. I know, fantastic, obviously, indeed. So there is a lot to cover, obviously, indeed, guys. So let's dive straight into it. Why is this not set up? Man, there is so much to cover, guys. So we'll see how long I can last. There's also some exciting things I want to discuss with you guys later, but we'll do that later. But first and foremost, let's dive into this big story here. I just realized I'm recording and streaming at the same time. I do not want to do that. No, that would overload my CPU. Let's not do that. So from Association Press, South Korean Parliament votes to defy the president by lifting his declaration on martial law. So before I give my thoughts, I'm actually going to play what the South Korean president actually says here. So they've got a video here. So I think video from what he states here, which I think let's just hear what he actually says with regards to the martial law.
친애하는 국민 여러분.
Hold on a second. I just realized you can't see the full screen. 1 second. 1 second, guys. I'm just going to adjust the screen. Can I do... Sorry, give me 1 second, guys. I did... See, I'm having a daily blasé moment here. Why is this problematic? Okay, I'm going to have to do it like this. Bit annoying, but you'll only see half his head, but at least then you'll be able to see the text. So this is what he says. Yeah, this is his speech.
친애하는 국민 여러분, 저는 북한 공산 세력의 위협으로부터 자유 대한민국을 수호하고 우리 국민의 자유와 행복을 약탈하고 있는 파렴치한 종북 반국가 세력들을 일거에 척결하고 자유 헌정 질서를 지키기 위해 비상계엄을 선포합니다. 저는 이 비상계엄을 통해 망국의 나락으로 떨어지고 있는 자유 대한민국을 재건하고 지켜낼 것입니다. 이를 위해 저는 지금까지 폐악질을 일삼은 망국의 원흉 반국가 세력을 반드시 척결하겠습니다. 이는 체제 전복을 노리는 반국가 세력의 준동으로부터 국민의 자유와 안전 그리고 국가 지속 가능성을 보장하며 미래 세대에게 제대로 된 나라를 물려주기 위한 불가피한 조치입니다.
Interesting thoughts that he's made there. Anti-state is basically what he's essentially saying there about anti-state, that interference in South Korea. Now, obviously, I'm gonna hold my hands up as I'm as innocent as I can. I don't know a lot about South Korean politics, but what I do know is that we know that tensions have been increasing between the Korean peninsula, between the two sides. We know there's been a lot of antics coming from North Korea. We know over the past couple of years, I've shared a couple of short stories here and there about obviously the balloons that have been flying out from each other as well. But I find it quite odd to declare martial law. Like, unless North Korea have done something significant, I don't see the logic in why he's doing this from an outside perspective. Now, Parliament has defied the president here, so his declaration of martial law has already been lifted, apparently. Yeah, so he's declared something, and the Parliament said no, you can't do this. So yeah, it looks like there's going to be a bit of a sort of constitutional crisis taking place in South Korea over this. Yeah. I don't know if they still got the live feed, but the Association Press had a live feed on here. We'll have a quick look at that as well. So South Korean President Yoon Sing-cheol had declared martial law late on Tuesday today, vowing to eliminate the anti-state forces as he struggles against an opposition that controls the country's parliament, and he accuses of sympathizing with communist North Korea. Hours later, Parliament lifted to vote the declaration, with the National Assembly Speaker, Woo Won-shig, declaring that lawmakers will protect democracy with the people. Woo called for police and military personnel to withdraw from the Assembly's grounds. The President's surprising move harkened back to an era of authoritarian leaders that the country has not seen since the 1980s, and it was immediately denounced by the opposition and the leader of Young's own Conservative Party. Following Young's announcement, South Korea's military proclaimed that Parliament and other political gatherings that could cause social confusion would be suspended, according to South Korea's Yonhap's news agency. I don't know if this is still live anymore. I'm just going to... Is it still... Yeah, I think yeah. Yeah, I think the live feeds ended there, but this was earlier on. Yeah, very lots of very confusion. Very not an ideal situation. I'm trying to understand what the logic behind this is. Like, if North Korea had done something big, I haven't heard or heard anything that North Korea have done that recently that has made them make this jump. The military also said that the country's striking doctors should return to work within 48 hours, Young has said. Thousands of doctors have been striking for months over the government's plans to expand the number of students at medical schools. The military said anyone who violates the decree could be arrested without a warrant. Yeah, I've covered this on a few short videos. Doctors are not happy with this, and they've been striking quite a lot for a while on this as well. So under South Korean law, martial law can be lifted with a majority vote in Parliament, where the opposition Democratic Party holds a majority. Soon after the declaration, the National Assembly Speaker called on its YouTube channel for all lawmakers to gather at the Assembly building. He urged military and law enforcement personnel to remain calm and hold their positions. All 190 lawmakers who participated in the vote supported lifting the martial law. Television footage shows soldiers who had been stationed at Parliament leaving the site after the vote. So literally everyone in the Parliament said, this is BS, we're not having martial law, we're getting rid of this. So this throws into the question, obviously, the integrity of the South Korean president. His position is becoming untenable as a result of this now. Earlier, TV showed police officers blocking the entrance of the assembly and helmeted soldiers carrying rifles at the front of the building. An Association Press photographer saw at least 3 helicopters, likely from the military, that landed inside the assembly grounds. 2 or 3 helicopters circled above the site. The leader of the Young's Conservative People's Power Party, Han Dong-hyun, called the decision to impose martial law wrong and vowed to stop it with the people. Opposition leader Ying Yang-mong, who narrowly lost to Yong in the 2022 presidential election, calls Yong's announcement illegal and unconstitutional. That's exactly what I was thinking there as well. Yong said during a televised speech that martial law would help rebuild and protect the country from falling into the depths of national ruin. He said he would eradicate pro-North Korean forces and protect constitutional democratic order. How exactly would martial law help that? Still don't understand it. Maban, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. I will eliminate anti-state forces as quickly as possible and normalise the country, he said, while asking the people to believe in him and tolerate some inconvenience. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, what is... I don't understand. Like, I'm trying, like, from an outside perspective, obviously, and we're many of us here listening to this, like, from an outside perspective, we don't understand the reason this. We're good, thank you. Yong, whose approval rating has dipped in recent months, has struggled to push his agenda against an opposition-controlled parliament since taking office in 2022. Yong's party has been locked in an impasse with Liberal opposition over the next year's budget bill. The opposition also attempted to pass motions to impeach 3 top prosecutors, including the chief of the Seoul Central District Prosecutor's Office, in what the Conservatives have called a vendetta against their criminal investigations of Lee, who have been seen as a favourite for the next presidential election in 2027 in opinion polls. Young has also dismissed calls for independent investigations into scandals involving his wife and top officials during quick and strong rebucks from his political rivals. Young Moon was the first declaration of martial law since the country's decriminalization in 1987. The country's last previous martial law was October 1979. So that's the situation so far. This is the latest news that I had with regards to this at the time, but it's still very concerning indeed. Yeah, there are people not kind of understanding what's going on. Like, I'm trying to wrap my head around the brains of what's the logic behind declaring martial law, and it feels like the perception that I've gathered from the time this happened to now is that this is nothing to do with North Korea, but an attempt to. It comes across, a part of me comes across as perhaps maybe an attempt to hold on to power. Maybe this may be a sort of power grab issue. I think this might be, and what I mean by power grab is an attempt to hold on to power, or some kind of reason to, like, the threat of North Korea is so strong that we can't afford any elections, we can't afford anything. I must stay in power. I must protect the Korean, the Republic from the North. I'm not saying that's exactly the truth. That's the interpretation that I'm getting from here, because I'm trying to understand what is the purpose of him calling the martial law apart from trying to hold on to power of some sorts. I don't see the logic in any way or shape or form behind this. But obviously, the next day there'll be more questions to answer from this as to why this has been declared. And it's interesting that also both sides in the party, in both sides of the big parties in Parliament, have said that this is wrong as well. So all politicians have pretty much said, from the perception is all politicians are like, no, we don't agree with this, we don't approve of this, we're denouncing this. And based on what we said there, I think this is more of a political decision, and I don't think this is. I honestly think this is a political decision. I don't think this has anything to do with North Korea at all. I think this is an attempt to try to scaremonger people into saying, like, we need to battle down the hatches and whatnot, when literally nothing has happened with North Korea that I've seen that has been big enough to say we need to step up to the plate, and this is the reason X, Y, and Z. Like, he's from based on what we've there. I've not seen the full speech. I want to stress that I've not seen the full speech from him. But based on what we just saw there is nothing there that may just say this is a legitimate reason why they need to have martial law. Didn't come across that like that at all to me. So I think it was right that Parliament undid it. But I also think now there needs to be questions, needs to be seriously raised about South Korea's president, and And I don't know if it's possible to oust him in any way, shape, or form, but I think they need to seriously consider that, because scaring the public, because that is what it is. Yeah, they would have been absolutely terrified when this came through, because they thought something, because, you know, not like, you have to understand as well, guys, not everyone is paying attention to news and politics like we do, right? So some people in South Korea, they all of a sudden hear martial law, they'll be like, what's going on? Like, are we going to be at war in a second, or is something happening with North Korea? Like this is the thing. Things they will start having this. The fear mongering will start coming in. The concerns, and that's what will be. So, yeah, just well, obviously, I'll keep an eye on it as much as I possibly can for you guys. As to Keir, thank you so much for the 10 gifted memberships, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your support. Let me search here on my side, says Joe. Yeah, if you got any other bits, yeah, just let me know. Mithril was gifted membership. Stingray Meerkat, also a Goddess of Redundance, Last Braveheart, Ben Ridgens, and Rebecca McDonald. There, 1, 2, 6. It looks like only 6 memberships. It looks like only 6 memberships were gifted there. It was supposed to be 10, but it looks like only 6 went through. So probably best to hold off on gifting memberships for the time being, guys, just in case, because it works for some and doesn't work for all for some reason. There. Well, here on Young accused the opposition that is banging him for corruption of NK agents, and the military have effectively retreated. Yeah. Thanks for that. Even Almodo is saying that this was political. Yeah, it screams political. This has nothing to do with North Korea. It seems like a political decision to try and seize, hold on to power of some sorts. But yeah, trying to claim that there's some kind of crisis in South Korea. I think if there was, I think there would have been more talk about it. I've been known about the doctor's strike for a while. I've known about the doctor's strike, but I haven't seen anything that makes me say that there's anything big happening in South Korea, or anything big coming from North Korea for that matter as well. Yeah, it seems only 6 memberships went through, so yeah. But thanks for that, Alistair. Appreciate it. All right, let's move on from that, guys. So the first of 3 elections we want to talk about, I want to start with the Romanian one. But before I talk about the election itself, I just wanted to highlight this because I think this is quite interesting. So we got back-to-back articles from Eurozone. So lawmakers keep TikTok on watch after clashes over the role in the Romanian election. So apparently TikTok has ticked off Romanians officials, and I'm not kidding, and that was a pun that was intended as well. We know TikTok has had problems. I do wonder whether TikTok is still going to get banned in America. Hold on, I was just noticing there was a drop in my feed there. 1 second. Appears to be okay. Just checking, guys, that if with the feed all right. It looks like it's okay. It looks very stuttery. I'll try and clear up some windows, some of the windows as we go along, guys. There's quite a lot. I've got a lot more open than usual. Right, so TikTok says it's engaged with Romanian authorities ahead of the election and follows the EU's online platform rules. So TikTok was left questions on what it did to take down illegal content during the Romanian elections unanswered, and the European Parliament is continuing to review the situation. MEPs claimed after clashes with representatives of the social media in the European Parliament's Internal Market and Consumer Protection, the IMCO committee, on Tuesday today. The video sharing platform was invited to discuss the role it played in the presidential election after Călin Georgescu, a right-wing candidate who ran independently, emerged as a winner with some 22.95% of the votes after the first round, mainly because of his strong performances on TikTok. Yeah, this is definitely where some of them have been winning over, is the TikToks. That's definitely appealing to younger audiences. TikTok claimed it was in touch with the country's authorities, including the electoral one, ahead of the vote, according to Caroline Gear, Director of Public Policy and Government Relations. In addition, she said that the big tech companies had some 95 Romanian language content moderators, the largest number compared with of other online the platforms who also scan for political advertising, which is banned on the platform. So last week, the European Commission asked additional questions to the platform under the Digital Service Act following a request by Romania's National Audiovisual Council to do so. TikTok, which has until December the 30th to reply to the questions, said earlier in the letter to the Romanian authorities that no evidence was found of a covert influence operation on our platform with the last several weeks of ongoing presidential election in Romania, nor evidence of following influence. I think that's a very important point there to point out. Stephen Wong, good morning, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Lawmakers today asked whether the platform would make its electoral rulebook available as well as give them insight into the company's algorithm. And German MEP Alexander Geese of the Greens EFA said, "We asked for clear and transparency on how do you reinforce the internal system before an election, how many staff understand the situation in Romania." Kafina Bailey, Germany's S&D, asked the platform if it believes it needs to be regulated and how it identifies bots. Laura Bastion of Spain told Euronews TikTok did zero self-criticism, nor did they respond to the request to publish the manuals that they have for moderators in order to face the accusations that the European Union is making against them. The chair of the IMCO committee said they will decide how to follow up or whether to send written requests for further clarification. Rally Hayar from France Renew is called for a hearing with the CEO of TikTok in the front of Parliament. "I've made an official request to President Metsola. Algorithms must never be based on our electoral campaigns. There is no democracy without fairness," she wrote on X. On the behalf of the Commission, Rita, Director of Platform Policy and Enforcement, concluded the discussions by saying that the investigation into the situation is ongoing. "We have to assess that the outcome before we can come into a position. The second round of presidential elections will be on the 8th of December, where Georgescu will face reformist Elegar Lasky from the centre-right Save Romania Union Party, the USR, which we'll come to in just a moment there. But just wanted to touch on social media and TikTok specifically. We know that that social media is now having more of a say when it comes to around elections, because they can be more amplified than ever before if they're not careful. We know also it's even more dangerous when it comes, especially with Twitter, has been quite strong when it comes to America's election, the British election, and some of the other major elections as well. And it's going to be interesting to see what the outcome is. Whether I haven't seen it. Like, it says it in there that wasn't any foreign influence by TikTok, according to that. But honestly, like, this obviously does raise a bit of suspicions, a bit of concerns that maybe there was something there, but it doesn't appear to be. But I thought it's important to understand that we are seeing a rise of the far right in many European elections. We also know there's been great changes of governments being overturned because of post-pandemic things as well. So that's why I wanted to highlight this story for us. Steve McMorland, thank you for the 210 New Zealand dollars. Appreciate your support, my friend. I hope you have a good day today, whatever it is you're doing, work, related to anything else there. But yeah, this highlights again the need to tackle with social media. And we do need to tackle more with social media. It is a big problem in our society. And for some reason, the page is being really, really slow. Oh, God. So, 1 second. Oh, my days. I've never seen a page so slow before. Well, my computer's being really slow right now, so I do apologise. Bear with me 1 moment, guys. Oh no. Where's the video before? There we go. I want that one. Just need to play another ad, damn it. Right, I'm just going to show you the headline here while it plays the ad. So this is also from Euronews. Romania comes to terms with new political reality despite victory for pro-European forces. Just going to read. I just wanted to cover this video piece here from Euronews. I'm just waiting for it to get past all the adverts.
Romania is coming to terms with a new political reality. Despite their success in parliamentary elections, pro-Western parties are likely to form a coalition amid the rise in popularity of the far right. Many observers believe the outcome was a protest vote, representing a sharp boost from mainstream parties to an anti-establishment movement.
I think through yesterday's vote, Romanians wanted to send a clear message to their own politicians rather than to Europe. The significant increase in support for the extremists compared to 2020 shows that in Romania there is an important social discontent. Nevertheless, parts of yesterday's vote came from Romanians who wanted to defend their country's pro-EU stance, alarmed by the results in the first round of the presidential elections.
Though the new parliament's composition means Romania will continue on its pro-Western and pro-Ukraine path, all eyes are on this weekend's presidential election and its potential repercussions in the region and across the EU. Ultra-nationalist Călin Georgescu won the first round of the presidential election and is set to face the pro-European Elena Lasconi in Sunday's showdown.
Vreau să vă mulțumesc că nu v-ați jucat ruleta rusească cu democrația din România și cu acest drept sfânt de a vota liber.
The fragmentation of the vote has prompted pro-Western parties to start discussing possible coalition options in order to form a government. However, each of these possibilities points out to a government with reduced stability. And there is, of course, the great question mark regarding the results of the second round of presidential elections next Sunday between the ultra-nationalist candidate Călin Georgescu and the pro-Western candidate Elena Lasconi.
Ooh. Right, stop. There we go. Stop. There we go. Trying to pause it there. Very interesting situation in Romania, where although there is a rise on the, appears to be a rise in the far right in Romania, there is still very much a very strong sense of remaining pro-EU, remaining pro-European there, because we know it is grasping a lot of, it is getting to some people, but there is also that sense of divide that is really growing in certain nations there. But the good news is that the pro-European forces are looking like they're going to have victory. They're going to have the majority of hold in Romania. But of course, it is less seats that they had, less power that they had, and more of it's going to. And more going it's to the far right party. Now, obviously, there is still, as I said in the video, there is still this weekend's presidential battle, so that's going to be up for grabs as well. While, of course, like what's happening with South Korea, I don't know too much about Romanian politics, but I do think that we do need to err the side of caution and once again highlight the need to make sure that. I do think that misinformation does play a role in elections, and they're playing more of a role than ever before. Obviously, you heard her point out as well about the any kind of talk of Russia. Russia could not have interfered. There may have been some Russian interference, potentially or possibly, but I don't think so. Not on the scale of what's happened in Georgia, for example. But we know that that is one of the biggest tools that Russia has, is trying to undermine nations as much as possible with propaganda and misinformation. But this situation here in Romania is obviously not completely over, but it is obviously like there are concerns that Romanians have and they need to be addressed, while they also must make sure that they try their very best to while trying to look after, to put the country first, but while also trying to remain pro-EU as much as possible. Georgia Bestie, good to see you there. Billy Kershaw as well, good to see you both. Hope you guys are doing well. So the leftist Social Democrat Party is set to win Romania's parliamentary election, with far-right populists making significant gains. It's as Romania comes to terms with the new political reality that the country has changed. The calculations and negotiations are underway for the government coalition scenarios, following the victory of the pro-Western centrist forces and the rise of the far-right parties in Sunday's parliamentary elections. With 99% of the votes counted, the governing Social Democratic Party, PSD, are leading with 21% of the votes, followed by the nationalist far-right AUR with 18%. The other two main centrist forces and the Hungarian minority political party are enough for the pro-European forces to hold on to a majority. But two extreme far-right parties made it into parliament with around 70% of the votes each. The votes have reaffirmed Romania's pro-EU, pro-NATO and pro-Ukraine course, but the scores of the nationalist far-right party show an unprecedented political polarisation. The parliamentary election results arrive against the backdrop of the unexpected race for next Sunday's presidential election showdown between the two outsiders. The pro-European Elena Laskowski faces the ultra-nationalist Călin Georgescu, whose shock rise prompted a record turnout in Sunday's parliamentary election in what the pro-EU forces call a national emergency vote. With Georgescu nowhere to be seen after Sunday's vote, Laskowski went straight to the presidential race. And yeah, we've read that bit where she doesn't want to play with Russian roulette with democracy in Romania. Also, with the sacred right to vote freely, she said. I'm a firm supporter of law and the Constitution. God will help us in this time to stand united, fight for democracy and keep Russia out of our country, she added. A staunch pro-Western ally as NATO's biggest eastern flank country, the Romanian society has been inundated with intense anti-EU and anti-NATO narratives on social media, starting with the COVID-19 pandemic and culminating with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, following the same anti-Western propaganda manual has seen across the EU over the last years. A protest vote against the decades-long Romanian political establishment, combined with relentless anti-EU, pro-Kremlin political and public opinion vectors, has over time resulted in a shift towards more populist discourse. I think through Sunday's vote, Romanians wanted to send a clear message to their own politicians rather than to Europeans. And we've read that bit already. He's already said that, yeah. Yeah, he said all that already, yeah, because we read that from the video. What difference at this time? Heavy and smart social media campaign targeted mind by mind analyst Dan has explained. Everybody knows the effects of the EU, NATO and US made in terms of military mobilization to ensure what's going on in the eastern flank of EU and NATO. But another war was going on in the meantime, and that was the war for the mind of the people, he told Euronews. We saw what was going on with Brexit, for instance, in the UK. We see what's going on with the rising of anti-European populist and extremist movements in Europe. And we can see it also in this European Parliament. So it's a growing movement. While the composition of the next parliament shows that Romania will continue its pro-Western and pro-Ukraine strategy, the second round of presidential elections next Sunday is now seen as a moment of truth for Romania's political reality. The result of the presidential race will be a significant factor in any future government formula and Russia's overall political stability, with repercussions in the region and across the EU. The leader of the Social Democrats refused to endorse the pro-European candidate Laskowski, saying Romanians must decide for themselves. Romanians at this point have issued a warning sign to the entire political class, Claudiu has said. We assumed again to be a binding force in society, to be again a balancing factor, and as I said during the election campaign, to be the grown-ups in the room at this moment, he added. The fragmentation of the vote has prompted pro-Western parties to start discussing possible coalition options to form a government. However, each possibility points to a ruling bloc that might not be perfectly stable. In addition, a massive question mark remains over the result of the second round of presidential elections next Sunday, which is set to be a standoff between the ultra-nationalist Georgia and pro-Western Lazo Conte. I'm going to mispronounce the names, guys. If I have, then I apologise. Yeah, so they, as I said, Romania still remains pro-European, but it is becoming something of on the rise. The situation there, it's very worrying indeed. Obviously not here, but we've seen it in other places too. Obviously, I believe it was it Austria's elections where there was, for the first time ever, they had first far right parties or candidates as well there. So that was also a massive worry as well. Also, I've seen the rise. I think it's in German elections as well this year. Like, it's really, there's a lot of people who feel worse off since the pandemic, post-pandemic, And they're taking a lot of their frustration out on governments, and rightfully so, because at the end of the day, it's the governments that make the decisions. It's the governments that run the country. It's the governments that are supposed to make people's lives better. And if people feel their lives have been worse off, they're going to vote them out, regardless of whether their political backgrounds. And when other politicians are saying, hey, they're making lives worse for you, then they're going to, if people feel that their lives are worse off, they're going to change their status quo. So it's going to be interesting what happens over the weekend on this as well. So chances are I will probably cover the presidential election next week, and we'll see what the landscape will be when the dust settles on that election there. Another election that has also took place, guys, was a snap election over in Iceland, of all places. So the Social Democrats win Iceland's snap election as incumbents have been punished. The Social Democratic Alliance wins the largest share of votes, but will need to form a coalition to govern. We're gonna have a look at a video in a second on this, but I just want to cover just to give us a bit of a self-explanation on a bit of Iceland, because as well. So Iceland's centre-left Social Democratic Alliance won almost the most votes in snap elections, prompted by the collapse of the coalition in power for the past 7 years. The final count shows the Social Democrats won 15 seats in the 63 parliament seats. The Afarinti, with 20.8% of the vote, state broadcaster RUV have reported on Sunday. The Conservative Independent Party, which led the outgoing government, won 14 seats with a 19.4 percentage vote share, with the centrist Liberal Reform Party won 11 seats and 15.8% of the votes. 3 other parties also won their seats. Icelanders voted on Saturday after disagreements over immigration, energy policy, and the economy forced the Prime Minister Bjarne Bekkeston to pull the plug on his coalition government to call an early election. This weekend results more than doubled the share of the Social Democrats won in the previous election in 2021. I'm extremely proud of all the work that we've done. We've obviously seen the people. We want to see the changes in the political landscape, the Social Democrat leader, Christian Molly Fruska, said as a result it started coming in. Just thank you, George Beastie, for the £5 super chat with a ha 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 emoji in there. Thanks for the super chat. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for that. Chatty Rat, good to see you, buddy. We're going to come to the Irish elections after this. He says, good news is that the hard right Irish Freedom 0.6%, Irish People's 0.35%, National Party 0.3%, Ireland First 0.15%, and Liberal Republic 0.9% only got a combined 1.5% in the first preferences in the IRL. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Yeah, we're going to come to that. We're going to come to the Irish elections shortly. There. Hope he gets a coffee. Right, that whistle, yeah. But just coming. So an interesting actually thing when it comes to. Before I go any further, so an interesting thing actually when it comes to the Irish. So who's the YouTuber that I was covering from it? There was a great YouTube channel. YouTube channel EU Made Simple. So I watched their video on a self-explainer about Iceland's election, kind of breaking it down for us. So for quite a while, Iceland are not part of the European Union, just for reference for people who don't know. The public is more, according to the polls are kind of mixed in Iceland about how they feel about the European Union. So some pollsters are saying that they're more happy to stay out of the European Union total, while others see as staying into the European Union as a total. Now, there's a sort of cost of living crisis that some people are saying, and as you see for some of the issues that some people have had, they've had the same party for 7 years, and as it said, when the polls were showing that less and less people were supportive of the government, a snap election was called, basically. So they had the change. So they had the change in power. Now, apparently, according to one or two people, think that this could open up talks about possible talks. And I say possible. Don't say this is definitely going to happen, because this is not definitely going to happen. It's going to open up talks about Iceland potentially talking about rejoining the EU, or some kind of referendum being on the card about joining the European Union of some sorts. Will be on the card for Iceland. There'll be that discussion will be brought back up again. Although there is still a bit of a concern up and down about it. So it is an interesting situation Iceland find themselves in. So Frodieska 36 will likely try to seek coalition partners to command a parliamentary majority. It very much depends on whether she can convince the president that she is the most likely to be able to form a coalition. Stefana, a political scientist at the University of Iceland, had told Reuters news agency. It seems that the Reform Party is critical in this because they have the option of joining a coalition with the Social Democrats and the People's Party, and they also have the option of forming a coalition with the Independent Party and the Centre Party. As said, the Pirate Party lost all of its seats in this election, meaning that only 6 parties will have seats in the new parliament. Frostator has pledged to address the country's cost of living crisis, which has been caused by inflation and high borrowing costs, a challenge faced by countries worldwide in recent years, and a thorn on the side of incumbent parties, including the Democrats in the United States. In February 2023, inflation peaked at 10.4% in Iceland, while inflation slowed to 5.1% in October. It is still significantly higher than much of the rest of the world. Yes, this is one of the things. I think they have like the third or like the top, like fifth highest inflation in terms of in terms of some of the countries. It's quite high for it's very high for their situation. So by comparison, inflation in the US stood at 2.6% last month, while the European Union's rate was 2.3%. Yeah, so in comparison, that's not good for them. Public finances have also been strained by repeated volcano eruptions in southwestern Iceland, which has displaced thousands of people. Migration has also been a key issue in this election, as Iceland struggles to accommodate asylum seekers. Yeah, so believe it or not, people do seek asylum in Iceland. I know it's a bit of an odd one, but yeah, some people do go seeking asylum up there as well. Wake up to smell the rosemary. It's good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. So yeah, and obviously the volcanic eruptions has obviously caused disruptions as well. So yeah, all these things, again, this is another situation of where, you know, they've had the same government in power for quite a long time. 7 years is a long time, and obviously it's been a couple of years now since COVID, so the public have given them the benefit of the doubt and have had their faith in them. But it seems like the public have got to a point like, you know, we're fed up, we want to try a different party, try something different. And that's exactly what's happened here. So the number of refugees seeking protection in Iceland has jumped to more than 4,000 in each of the past 3 years, compared with the previous average of fewer than 1,000. And Iceland has a population of fewer than 400,000 residents as well. Yeah, so they don't have as high as immigration problems as the UK, Iceland, that is for sure, guys. But it is still interesting to say the least. Let me make sure I've got the... So I'm just going to play this video here. Just a bit of a this one from Euronews on the Iceland's election victory as well.
Iceland's Social Democrats have won the largest share of votes in Saturday's parliamentary election. With all votes tallied on Sunday, the center-left party more than doubled its total number of seats, unseating the ruling coalition of the past 7 years. Its leader, Kristrún Frostadóttir, is among the favorites to become prime minister, vowing to tackle a cost of living crisis through the Nordic welfare model. Icelanders voted Saturday after disagreements over immigration, energy policy, and the economy forced the country's prime minister to call an early election. All the parties in the governing coalition saw their seat count decline, with the Left Greens losing all 8 of its parliamentary seats. While counting was delayed in some areas by snowstorms, election turnout was high by international standards, with 80% of registered voters casting ballots.
Yeah, 80% of voters still casting their ballots despite the snowstorms. And if there's one thing I have learned about when I visited Iceland a few years ago, is that it is very cold. It can get very cold, and it can get very snowy. So yeah, snap election at this time of the year is not ideal. That is for sure, guys. That is not ideal for sure there. You're still on, REGANELITE. Oh, what was happening? Did the connection go down? Did the connection go down at some point? It might have done. The chat hasn't updated here. I'm just going to come to the chat on the phone there. One Angry Pagan, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, you just missed it. We were covering that earlier. Wake up the South Korean martial law. It's already been lifted by the parliament's overruled the martial law. It's a political stunt by the president to hold on by the president. Is what it is, and that's basically what it is. I've been learning Icelandic. Icelandic are really fun to learn. IMO says One Angry Pagan. Cool. Not good for the Greens over there. Yeah, we're going to be. We're going to be coming to Irish elections in a moment. Yeah, so very interesting. That be interesting to see where Iceland go from here, because obviously the victory there is parties. If they do form a coalition there, it obviously means that now they may try to pursue European Union membership, EU membership there. Also, another thing that was brought up is that one of the things that Icelandic people are very much against is the euro currency, because obviously they have their own currency in Iceland. They're very much against the euro currency, something that we are the same with as well. So they don't want to take the euro currency as well. I think that's a very key point here. Right, the one. Let me make sure I got this. Is this the right one? Right. So, link for this is in the description if you want to watch it in full. We're not going to watch it in full, but we're going to watch 2 bits of it, and then we're going to cover an article from RTE on the Irish election. But I think this here from the YouTube channel EU Made Simple. We're not going to watch all of it, but I wanted to share 2 parts of it here. This is their video, Ireland's Crazy Elections Explained. But I thought here is a pretty self-explanatory when it comes to polling, and maybe a perception of why maybe the results went the way they did here.
All 3 parties are generally pro-Europe, though in varying degrees. Both Fine Gael, part of the EPP, and Fianna Fáil, aligned with Renew Europe, are pro-European, but support Ireland's neutrality and defence. Sinn Féin, part of the left in the EU Parliament, is not necessarily anti-EU, but is definitely more critical of the EU's current structures, calling for reforms and rejecting any military integration or cooperation. So now that you know the key players, let's rewind the clock to the start of this year to understand what led us to this moment. Back in January, the left-wing Sinn Féin was riding high in the polls at 29%, dominating its opposition and capturing significant public support. But fast forward to November the 6th, and their popularity has taken a sharp nosedive to 3rd place at 18%, largely due to their unclear position on migration and a series of damaging scandals. These controversies include allegations of misconduct, internal mismanagement, and cover-ups. For example, a former Sinn Féin press officer admitted to child sex offences, with 2 party staff resigning after providing him unauthorised references. 2 Sinn Féin members of parliament also resigned, one over claims of censorship and another following a controversial internal investigation into a sexual harassment complaint. Additionally, a former senator stepped down after admitting to sending inappropriate text messages to a teenager. These issues have raised serious concerns about Sinn Féin's leadership and integrity.
And whatever you might think of, terms of policies. Now, obviously, some people might think, well, these scandals really shouldn't matter. It should matter about the policies, about what they do. Well, scandals do have an impact. Scandals do have an impact, and if you want an example of that, well, you look at the huge amount of scandals that we had to deal with in the UK. Now, obviously, it's different in the UK than what it is in Ireland, but still, these significant things did play an impact in the Irish election, because obviously, my perception, and I'm sure many of the perception that we had, was there was going to be a change in government. We were going to see something different from Ireland. But clearly, some of these things did play quite a key factor in the outcome of the Irish election. And I think that's quite significant. I also want to take you to this part of the clip. Like I said, you can watch the full video later on, but I just wanted to share this as well.
Another topic that has gained significant traction over the past decade is the prospect of Ireland's reunification with Northern Ireland, which is currently part of the UK. While Fianna Gael and Fianna Fáil acknowledge the possibility of reunification in the far future, they do not actively pursue it. Sinn Féin, however, is the party most strongly in favour of reunification, and wants a referendum by 2030.
Now, I don't know if that played a role in the outcome of this election or not. But I'm going to stick my head out a little bit and say maybe this played a nod into this, as in the fact that maybe some people weren't ready to have this conversation yet. There may have been a case that some people weren't ready to have this conversation. And maybe, obviously, Chatterat, you're more than welcome to enlighten us in the comments of what you were hearing on the ground. I don't know if the fact that Sinn Féin had put a date, whether it was right to put a date on a referendum, whether that was a good thing to do or not. Obviously, it's understandable given that the party that's in Northern Ireland, the majority party in Northern Ireland as well, made sense there as well. So,
Notably, Sinn Féin also has a Northern Ireland branch, and they are currently the biggest party in local government, the Stormont Assembly, and Westminster. For advocates of reunification, this election result may come as a disappointment. Sinn Féin in power on both sides of the border would have added substantial pressure on the UK to permit a reunification referendum, a crucial step towards advancing the cause. Nonetheless, with no...
And then obviously, this is obviously the outcome there. Two of the scandals were in Northern Ireland, even though Belfast-based senator was in the Siad Aaron. Thanks for that, Chatty Rat. I don't know if they did place, like I said, these may have played a factor into it, but obviously, like I said, I can't speak too much on this, but these are the numbers and the results that we can see on the screen now, and we'll come to the article in just a moment. But you can see there, obviously, Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are just, I think it's 2 seats. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chatty Rat. I believe it's 2. Yeah, from what the video will say, from what it was, it's about 2 seats off from a majority. It could be that they could align with the Labour Party. They could align with, which is what it likely could be. Those 3 parties there. It's possible, obviously, independents or social democrats that Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael may align with them as well. And as you can see there, right at the bottom, the Greens have gone to 1 seat, so they're not going to share any kind of power whatsoever. The scandal's got no traction, says Chatty Rat. Northern Ireland unification was not an issue in the election. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm assuming the main issue would have been housing, cost of living crisis, and immigration was obviously something that was brought up as well. They were key issues, but perhaps I'm just trying to understand why did people didn't go enough for Sinn Féin, and the perception that I have is perhaps maybe not enough people were ready to give them power, but probably they're not ready for it yet. Because at the moment, because what it is it's the public are pretty much saying maintain the status quo. Do people really want the status quo still? It does lead that into many questions there, I will say. But like I said, guys, that video, by the way, is from EU Made Simple's YouTube channel. The link is in the description, guys, if you want to check that out later. It's the video is called Ireland's Crazy Close Elections, breaking it down. For those who basically don't know Irish election, like I don't know it, but it was very good, simpler explanation of breaking it down, quite simple for us. But let's go to RTE here. So this is what Sinn Féin will never give up as parties hold talks on a government formation here. So Sinn Féin leader Mary Lou McDonald has said her party will never give up their work for a better future as parties hold meetings in the coming days in the hopes of forming a government. Following Friday's election, Fine Gael finished up with 48 TD. Yeah, we've looked at the numbers already. Focus now shifts to the formation of the next government. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Sinn Féin will each hold a meeting of their parliamentary parties tomorrow, while the Social Democrats will hold a meeting in its parliamentary parties online today. It has written to Sinn Féin, Labour, Fine Gael and Fine Gael seeking meetings to discuss the next steps. The party will hold discussions with Sinn Féin on Thursday and will hold a meeting with Labour's party on Friday. Mr. Donald this afternoon said hundreds of thousands of people will vote for change. I know there is a real disappointment about Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil. seem dead set on picking up where they left off before the election. But be absolutely certain of this, we will never give up. Too much is at stake. The work for a better future continues right now. Party's 39 TDs will meet tomorrow at Leicester House. The Labour leader Ivan Bjork is due to meet the Green leader Roderick O'Gorman on Thursday ahead of Friday's meeting with Social Democrat Deputy Leader Kieran O'Callaghan. If I mispronounce any of the names, I do apologise. The outcome of the internal meetings between Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil could pave the way for some level of engagement on government formation before Christmas, but the intense negotiations might not start until January. At 86, the combined number of Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil seats is just too short of majority, which we already said. The total number of seats in the Dáil increased from 160 to 174. Following review by the Electoral Commission last year, any potential coalition would need at least 88. And therefore, up to 8 more TDs might be needed by Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael to ensure a working majority can withstand any shocks along the way. This means the new government will have to get the support of a number of independent TDs or a smaller party. The Dáil are due to sit in for the first time on the 18th of December, but whether a new government could be formed within that time frame remains to be seen. And meanwhile, the members of the new 34 Dáil have begun to sign the role of members at Leicester House. By signing, it enables TDs to take their seats when it convenes for the first time on the 18th of December. Among those new deputies were Fianna Fáil's Tom Brazen and Independents Barry Heigigan. The signing of the role will take place in the presence of the clerk at the Dáil, Pino Felligan. And another deputy signing of the role was Fianna Fáil's Timmy Dooley, who returned to the Dáil in the general election after spending the last... sorry, I can't say that name, guys, in the seed. Fine Gael's Emma Curry, the new TD in Dublin West, also signed the role. Sinn Féin's housing spokesperson said the numbers are clear and it is possible for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil to form a government with additional support. However, Erin O'Brien reiterated that his party view that this is the worst possible option and that Sinn Féin will hold talks with like-minded progressive political parties. Our preference is a government without either party, he said. But Sinn Féin has always said that if that isn't possible, we would talk to everyone, including Fianna Fáil. Speaking on Monday's RTE morning, he said it must be acknowledged that something shifted during the election. There is now far larger and more cohesive progressive left Republican bloc between Sinn Féin, Labour and the Social Dems. Ultimately, a Fianna Fáil Fine Gael government would be bad for those who voted for change, he said. Mr. Ombrong acknowledged that Sinn Féin did have some disappointment take away from the election. However, he said there was also positive elements that the party turned things around during the election campaign and that considered its position the second largest party in the Dáil. Meanwhile, independent MP Martin Huckin for Silo Libram said he is interested in supporting the next government. However, she said conversations should also be held between other like-minded independents because being a part of a grouping gives independents more speaking time and a stronger position. Speaking on Today with Claire Bryan, she said, it certainly looks as if it will be Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael again. I would absolutely be interested in speaking to him, but first of all, there are conversations to be held with some colleagues, independent colleagues, to see how perhaps we can have a stronger voice. Independent Ireland TD Michael Fitzgerald for Roscommon Galloway has said he has not heard from any of the three main parties. Speaking on the same programme, he said there's a lot of shadow boxing going on and he believes Fine Gael will play hardball for a while in order to get the 50-50 on everything. He said that the focus must be on forming a stable government. And he added that Independent Ireland is open to sitting down and holding talks with parties, but that would have to focus on policy. Labour also had magnificently successful elections, said Howland as well. The former Labour leader, Brandon Howland, said the party had a magnificent successful election. Speaking on RT News, but Howland said there would have been extraordinary odds in the bookmakers of Labour winning 11 seats. The former Wexford TD added that any decisions to go into government with Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael will be made by the Labour Parliamentary Party. Ivina Black has never said what's going to happen, but I think it's exactly the right tack. And that building to create a mass of like-minded deputies, he said. We have a value system, and we want a different type of Irish society based on social democratic values that we've always held dear. And we want to reach out to people who have been elected to the new Dáil that share those values, and then talk to anybody else, because I think it is critically important. Mr. Howell said that Labour is not there to make up the numbers, but to fundamentally transform Ireland, adding that his party will need to reach out to other like-minded parties. Looking at how we can address the issues that are facing the people of today, most especially housing, and the honest belief if the incoming government doesn't solve the issue of housing shortages, then we will have abandoned a generation. And he's 100% true. The housing crisis is one of the biggest issues, in Ireland, as I'm sure you guys have been aware. It's been spoken about on numerous occasions for sure. It's not the outcomes that I, as I know from the outside and as part Irish, I actually didn't want the status quo, a kind of status quo, but it is what at the end of the day, it is what the people at the end of the day voted for. But they don't have complete and total control. But again, it will be about Sinn Féin to continue to hold the government to account if they do successfully form one, which we do expect them to. And that's the best we can do, and hope that they can make people's lives better. Because at the end of the day, it is what the people voted for. But one thing everyone must do is try to get behind this government and hopefully give it the support it needs and get the housing crisis under control, because it needs to be under control. They need to do something about immigration. They need to do something about the cost of living crisis. They need to get these things under wraps, that is for sure. Just before I move on, just want to go to the live chat to see what some people have been saying. For many voters, especially of my age, 65, there's still a smell of Corringing off the shinners. More likely Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael and Independent Ireland, or Fianna Fáil and FG Jean Paul Independent, or maybe both. The scandal got no traction. Coalitions are, in my opinion, good for democracy. It forces different forces to work together. Some of the best governments here were coalitions. Yep, absolutely, 100% agree. Yeah, they have a very good system. They have a very good election system. Well, from my perspective, much better than what we have anyway. The party has to negotiate with other parties, and almost all decisions in Parliament discussed as all things are moving quicker than in the last majority government. I'm actually glad that we could talk about this today rather than over the weekend, because obviously a lot of the dust has now settled now. Facts do not lie, but there's more discussion and fireworks and things to discuss in the open with a lot of media coverage. Some people confuse this with instability, but a sign of volatility. This is all from Jow for those asking. If the US had a system like ours, there would be no Trump. Absolutely, there would be no Donald Trump for sure. Exactly, there was only 100,000 votes between the last two presidential elections. Also, this was one of the lowest turnouts, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong as well. I'm pretty sure this was one of the lowest turnouts that they had as well in this, which is yeah, that's quite. I have to say that's really quite sad. There was quite a low that there's been quite a low turnout as well there. Now I don't know if it's I don't know the main reason, whether it's just people just don't have faith in politicians, or and more needs to be done to get people involved. You know, if you're missing out, like I'm worried about the next generation of Irish citizens, Irish citizens. I really am. The next generation needs to be taken care of. One thing that Ireland definitely has is there's nothing really that gives any indication that they do not want to, that they want to. There's no indication whatsoever from any political spectrum that Ireland wants. There doesn't seem to be any kind of anti-EU skeptic in Ireland's Irish politics. At least I'm not hearing that from what I've seen and read. Not heard anything along those lines in any way, shape, or form. Pretty much whatever side party spectrum there are, they're all pro-EU to a certain extent on that. So guys, we've gone over an hour already here on the 50th episode of the Snowflake's Corner, and I want to say thank you guys for all coming along so far. Really appreciate it. I've got a funny video for you guys before we head to the next set of stories. Like I said, that's why I started at 6 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. today, because I wanted to give you guys a bit more of an extension today because it is the 50th episode. So thank you guys for joining me for this. And I hope you guys enjoy this funny video to lighten the mood. And what better, I mean, it just makes logical sense after talking about Ireland that we do a funny video regarding Ireland. Getting past Irish immigration. Ooh, can you pass the test, guys?
Before granting you entry to the Republic of Ireland, I just have a few simple questions. It's just a formality. Name 3 Irish rivers.
River Shannon, River Liffey, and River Dance.
Correct. When is summer in Ireland?
The 15th to the 23rd of July.
Correct. What are Ireland's national sports?
Gaelic football, hurling, and binge drinking.
Correct. What is Ireland's national dish?
Nye Horan.
He is. What are the 2 predominant religions in Ireland?
Man United and Liverpool.
They are. How many counties are there in Ireland?
22.
How many accents are there in Ireland?
2,000.
Yes. The current Irish government is a coalition of which 3 parties?
Apple, Facebook, and Google.
Yes. Name the area with the highest Irish population density.
London.
Correct. What time zone does Ireland run on?
5 minutes past when it should be.
Yes. Where will you go if you defraud the government in Ireland?
Prison.
Where will you go if you defraud the taxpayer in Ireland?
Spain.
Yes. Who came to power following Irish independence from Great Britain?
The Catholic Church.
They did. What is Ireland's biggest export?
Nurses.
What is Ireland's biggest import?
Landlords.
What is the current street value of crack in Ireland?
90.
The crack is 90. Now for the Irish language section.
Cacolor Eraiglat.
What?
Cacolor Eraiglat.
Sorry, I don't speak Irish, so...
Jesus.
Okay, now for the practical. Please pour a pint of Guinness from this can.
No, wait. Never drink Guinness from a can.
Correct. Welcome to Ireland, lads.
Hey.
Oh god, I forgot I had water in my mouth when that was going on. Hey, I think I remember actually one time I was actually doing. I'm not very good at. I'm not an Irish dancer, but I think I can do a bit of that if I really wanted to, guys. No, you will not see it here. Don't even try bribing me for it, guys. So before we go to the next article, which is on Ukraine, guys, I just want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing. If you can help me get to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the year, that'd be fantastic. Although the chances are not very good at the moment. I need 100 subscribers as of right now. Whether we can do that or not is going to be difficult, but if you are new to the channel, if you like the content, if you find it interesting, please do consider subscribing and supporting us, supporting the work that I do here. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to financially support me and the work that I do here as well, you could also become a YouTube member for as little as 99p as well. It can get you access to custom emojis, and whenever you comment on my videos, you always get a response as well. And if you're a 199 member, you'll also get early access to additional content as well. So thank you very, very much for everyone who has done that as well. Also, if you wanted to, you could buy me a coffee. Links for that is in the description, as well as joining the Patreon as well. There's also plenty of content on Patreon and Rumble on there as well, so feel free to check them out as well. Yeah, that was a good video from Foil and Arms. Very good video from Foil and Arms. So thanks for listening to all that. Let's carry on, guys. So I wanted to have a good talk about this because I was listening to 1 or 2 very fascinating videos from those inside Russia about Ukraine. So Ukraine slams failed 1994 security guarantees and urges NATO membership. So Kiev reiterates calls for a formal invitation as Security Alliance diplomats meet to discuss the war. So I watched Konstantin's video. That's his YouTube channel, Inside Russia. And I was listening to his video about this, as well as 1 or 2 others, but I was watching his earlier today. And he believes that negotiations between Ukraine and Russia will start in January. He believes that there will be that this will end next year. And based on what he has said, based on what the positions and the situations that both countries are in, based on what sources that he has and some of the other things that I've heard, I generally agree. I think this is finally going to come to an end next year. When it's going to come to an end next year, I don't know. Now, why do I think this is going to come to an end? Well, there's a couple of reasons. So first and foremost, Ukraine are tired. Ukraine are exhausted. Their soldiers are losing morale. Some of them are even abandoning their posts. So the exhaustion is there. They don't have the soldiers, and they're losing soldiers. They just don't have the numbers of Ukraine. That's the first thing. So from Ukraine's perspective, they are exhausted. So for them, they are really struggling. From Russia's perspective, their economy is collapsing. Inflation is rising. The ruble is crap. People are struggling, and everything has been plunged into the war. And Russians are feeling the pinch. If they're not, they're feeling it even more. For a long time, they've been able to hold off from this, but the sanctions on Russia, the exile of being outside the global markets, have really hurt Russia. And they have tried for a very long time to shield themselves from the damage of the sanctions, but they have slowly been eating on, and it is starting to finally get to Russia. There is only so much that they can do to hold off the starvation of not being a part of the world, not being a part of the global market, being shut out by the rest of the world for their actions. And it is hurting them. What's also hurting them is the lack of soldiers. They have lost, according to most reports, more than 500,000 Russian soldiers. Probably even more than that. It is and we recently obviously had the report of 10,000 North Korean soldiers reportedly trying to help Russia as well. The fact that North Korea sent soldiers should have been the first indication of saying, Russia struggle. Why should Russia? You would think of a country that has such a big population that they would not have an issue with soldiers. But that appears to be what's going to be the case here, is that they are struggling. They're struggling with recruitment. So according to Constantine, that they are preparing, Russia are preparing the propaganda machine to whatever kind of outcome they get with Ukraine to be a victory, to portray to the Russian people that it was a victory when they get the ceasefire with Ukraine. This is the plan. This is what they're slowly building up behind the scenes, because if there's anything that Vladimir Putin doesn't want to be seen, is seen being defeated. So they will try to spin this in some way, shape or form to the Russian people that this has been a victory, that the Russian soldiers who fought and died for this war fought valiantly, and we liberated much of Ukraine. It's been a glorious victory or whatnot. But basically, this is how they're going to portray it. Now, are the Russian people going to buy it? I don't think so. I'm not sure. But even if they don't, for me, it's about the lives. So many lives have been lost. So many homes have been destroyed in Ukraine. So many children have been lives have been lost as well. Villages, towns decimated. You have both sides of the battlefields full of landmines as well, which are going to take forever to get rid of as well. You're going to have the psychological and mental issues among soldiers on both sides that will need significant help and support. Then there's also going to be trying to reintegrate some of these people back into society as well. This is all after if they agree peace as well. But there is also one other thing that needs to be assured, is Ukraine's guarantee. Zelensky must not agree to anything unless he gets security guarantees, guarantors, or NATO member. If he can't get NATO membership, he needs guarantors. He should get guarantors from from the US, from the UK, France, from all the big nations. If he can get some guarantors, at least, that will prevent Putin from going to war with Ukraine again. But the sad thing is, like, at the start of this war, I said that Ukraine must not give up its territories. It has reached this point where the territories must be given up. And I hate that, because I really, really hate that, because it means that Vladimir Putin will stay in power. And they have successfully taken territory that they have no right to take. Just to paint Putin's this war as a victory of some sorts. So I do, as much as I want Ukraine to get back some of their territory, I can't see them getting much territory back. Like many people said when they started incursion into Kursk region, and they will hold on to that. I believe they will hold on to that. They will use that as a bargaining chip in their agreements. They will give it back, but they will use it as a bargaining chip, as well as we've talked about in the past before. But yeah, this is finally coming to an end. That there's been the preparations behind it from inside Russia. Konstantin's YouTube channel, he's been, you know, if he is saying this, and he has very good sources. If he is saying this, if other people are rumors to have saying that there are things going on behind Russia, then there's something here. You know, there is something here. So whatever, as much as I hate this, I hate that Russia will try to portray this as a victory. I hate that the possibility that Russia will hold on to the territory that they have no right to hold on to. The one big positive that I want to point out of all this, and yes, I know what people are going to also point out as well, and this is another good point actually, this will also make Trump look good as well, because Trump can say, look, I stopped the war. He will tell the American people, all that money was piled into Ukraine and I stopped the war. He can run that. He can run that with the American people. People will buy into that. People will win that. People will win his vote over with that as well. Another thing as well. But pushing that politics aside for 1 second, we want the bloodshed to stop. We want people to stop dying. And that's the most important thing in this. Because too many people have died. It's an unnecessary war. It needs to end. But Ukraine must get guarantees. And I'm sure that Zelensky will not call any kind of peace, peace, unless he gets those guarantees. And I think that's what he's going to be pushing down for. And I think he's been slowly preparing for this as well. This has been something that's been going on behind the scenes as well, because there's been something that they've been talking about for quite a while as well. And there will be peace, but it's temporary, says Zhao. Zelensky will want guarantees. He will not call for a peace that puts that Ukraine at risk. He will want guarantees of some sorts. He will not call for peace without guarantees. There is no point in calling for peace from Zelensky's point of view. There's no point in calling for peace and getting peace if there's a guarantee that if there's a high chance that Russia are going to attack him later on. He needs guarantees, assurances from Western allies that they are going to support him if they get attacked again. If he gets those guarantees, Russia will not attack again. And we may actually have some calm in the West. We may. So let's read into this, guys. So Ukraine has slammed a 30-year-old security agreement as it reiterated its call for NATO membership. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kiev on Tuesday slammed 1994's Budapest Memorandum, which saw the newly independent country give up the world's third largest nuclear arsenal for security guarantees from Russia and the West. The criticism of the short-sighted deal came before a NATO meeting that is expected to discuss the growing possibilities of negotiations to end the war with Russia. We are convinced that the only real guarantee of security for Ukraine, as well as the deterrent to further Russian aggression against Ukraine and other states, is Ukraine's full membership of NATO, the Foreign Ministry statement reads. The Budapest Agreement, signed by the United States, the United Kingdom, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus and Kazakhstan, was a monumentum to short-sightedness in strategic decision security making, it continued. Not providing Ukraine with real effective security guarantees in the 1990s was a strategic mistake that Moscow exploited. This mistake must be corrected. The message marking this week's 30th anniversary of the pact came as NATO foreign ministers convened in Brussels to discuss the grinding Ukraine war, in which Russia has made recent battlefield gains. With the upcoming return of Donald Trump to the White House raising uncertainty over US support, Kiev fears being forced to the negotiating table. As well as failed Budapest memorandum, Ukraine's government has condemned the Minsk agreement, which implemented an uneasy ceasefire following Russia's annexation of Crimea in 2014 and subsequent fighting with pro-Russian rebels in the east of the country. Enough of the Budapest memorandum, enough of the Minsk agreement. Twice is enough. We cannot fall for the same trap a third time, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said. Okay, so he's made it clear that these agreements are not enough then. He wants NATO membership. He will want that he wants that guaranteed. Amid the fear of this false ceasefire would leave Ukrainian territory under Russian control and the rest of the country threatened by aggression in the future, Kiev is urging NATO with increasingly urgency for an invitation for it to formally join the security alliance. With the bitter experience of the Budapest memorandum behind us, we will not accept any alternatives, surrogates or substitutes for Ukraine's full membership of NATO, said the Foreign Ministry. Inviting Ukraine to join NATO will now be an effective counter to Russia's blackmail and will deprive of the Kremlin of its illusions about the possibility of hindering Ukraine's Euro-Atlantic integration, it added. It is also the only chance to stop the erosion of key principles of nuclear non-proliferation and restoration confidence in its nuclear disarmament. However, NATO has given little indication that it will formally welcome Ukraine into the fold soon. Speaking on the sidelines of the NATO meeting on Tuesday, the blog's chief, Mark Russell, did not address NATO's assertion, but urged the alliance to do more to put Ukraine in a more favourable negotiating spot. They will all need to do more. The stronger our military support to Ukraine is now, the stronger their hand will be at the negotiating table, Root said. And that Russia's President Vladimir Putin thinks he can break Ukraine's resolve and ask, but he is wrong. Kiev's calls for robust security guarantees have grown more urgent since the election of Trump, who has pledged to end the war quickly, suggesting Ukraine may have to make tough concessions or risk losing US arms support. We're getting ready for the worst case scenario when Trump stops all supplies. Lieutenant General Igor Romanenko, the former deputy head of the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces, had told Al Jazeera. Bracing for a Trump presidency, Zelensky said the country is ready to negotiate, but must do with strong leverage, such as with NATO membership and other security assurances. There will be no capitalization from the side of Ukraine, says Zelensky at a Sunday news conference, acknowledging we do have to find diplomatic solutions. The war in Ukraine, dragging through its third year, has killed and injured hundreds of thousands of Russian and Ukrainian soldiers, creating manpower woes for both sides. Russia, which has brought in thousands of fighters from North Korea to boost its war efforts, views Ukraine's integration into NATO as anthemia and said it is as an unacceptable security threat. Ukraine said on Tuesday that it had repelled a bid by Russian forces to cross the Osklen River, which has long been a de facto front line in the east. As a result of the successful operation, the enemy was destroyed. The right bank of the Osklen River is under control of the defense forces, the Ukrainian military said in a statement. Kiev has also reportedly had shot down 22 out of 28 drones that Russia fired overnight in critical infrastructure in the western Tabori and Ravin regions. As it has each winter since February 2022 invasion, Russia has been targeting Ukraine's energy infrastructure, triggering power cuts across the country as temperatures drop. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I don't know. It may come to an end. We'll have to wait and see, guys. But I think I've said my piece on it. All I can say is obviously we'll see where they are next year. Obviously, I'll every now and then I'll try and keep up with bits and bobs of what's happening in Ukraine. But yeah, it's a difficult one for them. I confess being biased against Russia. I visit my family homelands in Prussia. I would visit a road in the forest in Poland. I feel sorry for Russian troops and conscripts too. Pity the people of Russia. Yeah, the people of Russia. Yeah, I feel for them as well. Yeah, they're all victims of war who have no say in their destruction. 100%. Andrew Luke, good to see you there. I hope you're doing well. Yeah. Yeah, Trump is going to... I do feel in the end Trump is going to get what he wants. He's going to get peace. And he's going to take all the credit for it as well. That's the worst part of it, guys. He's going to take all the credit and I'm going to fucking hate it. Because he does not deserve any credit whatsoever for it. but he's going to take credit for it. He's going to force Ukraine's hand. The next piece I've got for you guys is from Middle Eastern Eye. So Aleppo Kurds fears displacement as thousands flee rebels in the Tel Rifaat. Syrian Kurds said they fear for their community's future in Aleppo despite assurances by Tel Rifaat al-Sham. So the crisis in Syria has heated up. And I just find it very odd that this flares up just as peace seems to be, well, ceasefire is in place in Lebanon now between Israel and between Israel and Hezbollah. It just feels like one conflict starts up after another in the Middle East, and I'm just like, why did this have to start literally just after another conflict? It almost feels like that it was planned to me. Like the timing just feels wrong. That something is fishy about all this. Like, why does this have to flare up now? It's not just a case of me just paying attention here. Like, they've been quiet, Syria, and all of a sudden it's just kicked off again. It just feels like there's powers at play that we don't know about. That's what this screams to me. So the dramatic takeover of Aleppo and its countryside has sent tens of thousands of Syrian Kurds fleeing east and raised fears that the community could be permanently displaced from the city. More than 100,000 Kurds lived in the Aleppo neighborhood of Sheikh Mansour. I'm going to mispronounce names, guys, so I do apologize. Asharig with the town of Tel Rifaat, Tel Rifaat and Tel Rifaat, with also housing significant Kurdish communities. Sheikh Mosque, Al-Sarin and Tel Rifaat have for years been secured by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces as operated by Kurdish enclaves. However, on Sunday, rebel factions belonging to the Turkish-backed Syrian National Army captured Tel Rifaat, prompting people to leave the SDF-held areas to the northwest. The SDF is backed by the United States and dominated by People's Protection Unit, the YPG, which is linked to the PKK, an armed group that has been waging a decades-long war against Turkey. Many of the Kurds taken to the east on Monday night were originally displaced in 2018 from Afrin, 30 kilometers to the west, when that town was seized by the SNA and has been living in informal camps in Tel Rifaat ever since. Putin smells! He does. I wouldn't know what he smells like, Andrew, but thank you for the £2. Thank you for the £2 super chat. I really appreciate your support. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I don't know what he smells of, but he is trouble. That's well, stinks of trouble, corruption. That is what he is. Tel Rifaat has since been captured by Kurdish forces from Syria rebels in 2016, prompting many Syrian Arabs in the area to flee to Turkish-controlled Azag. And now these displaced Arabs hope to return to their homes. Sinem Mohammed, the representative of the SDF political wing in the United States, is a Kurd from Afrin. And she told me this night that the situation was very dangerous for people displaced from the Afrin living in Tel Rifaat, who said she had been attacked by the SNA. In order to protect people displaced, the people of Afrin, we moved into the northeast to Syria to Tabika, she said. And on Monday, 120,000 Kurds, many original from Afrin, were moved in convoy to Tabika and placed in temporary shelters. Massive displacement has not occurred in Sheikh Mansour and Afrix at least for now. Has not occurred in those places for now. Sophie Stone, a researcher from the Syrian base at Rofov Information Center RIC, had told Middle Eastern Eye. Hali Tali al-Sham, a former al-Qaeda affiliate that led the rebel offensive on Aleppo, has called on Kurdish fighters to leave the city, but asked Kurdish civilians to stay. It condemned the barbaric practices the Islamic State group carried out on Kurds, promising to guarantee their security in their original areas in the city of Aleppo, which will be stronger with its diversity. Yet, according to local newspaper reports, HTS has surrounded and besieged Sheikh Mansour and Al-Faraji, with residents facing dwindling food supplies and a lack of services. There is no water, electricity or internet, Mahmoud had said, confirming that HTS had offered a deal to the Kurdish forces. They said you can leave if you can, but all the people who have homes here, their business, their work, I don't know if they can move, she said. No suggested there may be concerns among Kurds who work with the local Kurdish authorities, as people in Afrin associated with the YPG's political wing, Democratic Union Party, were arrested after rebels took the town in 2018. There's a fear of that happening again. For now, people are staying in their place in the areas protected, she said. We don't know what will happen, and they are under some threat. Some people are preparing to move because they are afraid of the Syrian National Army and HTS. SNA fires have been accused of grave human rights abuses against Kurds in Afrin and other areas of Aleppo countryside in recent years. A Human Rights Watch report released in February said the Turkish-backed forces have conducted arbitrary arrests, incumbents, detentions, abductions and torture. Kurdish women detainees reportedly being subjected to sexual violence, including rape, the report said. Akim Haramo, the Belgian-based chairman of Henley, a Syrian Kurdish cultural organisation, has family members in Aleppo. He told Middle Eastern Eye that people who had worked with the PYD are unlikely to stay in the city. However, not all Kurds are connected with the PYD, despite what the jihadi rebels have claimed, he said. The same thing happened in Afrin. People were told first to stay and that they wouldn't be harmed, and only PYD members were being targeted. But in practice, individuals were arrested, tortured and displaced. We'll guarantee your safety. Yeah, you'll be fine here. Yeah, sure. Okay. Bassem Ahmed, head of Syrians for Truth and Justice, a group that documents human rights abuses, is skeptical that HTS assurances and inclusive language will be carried out in practice. They don't believe the future holds anything positive for the diversity of this region under HTS. They will try to impose their rule on everyone, he said. Stressed that Bashar al-Assad's government isn't necessarily better. It's important to emphasize that neither the project order of the regime nor HTS's offers protection, democracy or a positive future for minorities or all Syrians. And again, this will lead to more Syrians fleeing the country. More immigrants coming to Europe, guys. Nicholas Henneth, an analysis of the US-based New Lines Institution think tank, described Aleppo Kurdish community as being an inflection point. Inflection point. I'm losing my words today. According to Harris, many Turkish-based rebels see Kurds and the YPG as indistinguishable, so the group continue their presence in the city as a non-starter. The YPG is rapidly facing the decision to point to either to stand its ground in Aleppo, to fight and potentially be wiped out, or to withdraw the US protected areas in northeast Syria, he told MEE. There is a real risk that the long-running Kurdish presence in the Aleppo could be disappeared if the YPG does not play a weak hand in the city as best it can. SDF Commander-in-Chief Mazloum Abdi said on Monday that his forces will continue to protect Aleppo's Kurdish neighbourhoods. This is not an area I know enough about, but what I will say is that when it comes to multiple religions and regions, communities in this part of the world, it's very hard to believe that they're all going to work along, cozy up to each other. I don't have much faith in that. I hope that they can continue to live their lives peacefully, but something tells me that's not going to be the case. But the problem is that because of, I look at Syria and just consider an absolute cluster F. I really do, the situation that they are in. And the only reason that Bashar al-Assad is in power is because of the bloody Russians. You know, he should have been overthrown. He should have been overthrown, in my opinion. And perhaps there may have been a bit more unity in Syria if it had been. But yeah, the situation is not good. It's not good with the fundamental change here. But I hope some resolve will come at some point. But I need to spend more time on the conflict in Syria. I don't have enough information on it to speak enough on it. But all I will say is that I hope that everyone can get along. But I'm not expecting that, guys. I really am not. So one last story I've got for you guys. Yes, I have one more story, guys. Yeah, I said there was going to be a long live stream today. And then we will have the funny memes. So while I want to stress that while I don't ever want people to go hungry or lose their jobs or lose their pay, it would be kind of it would be in a way funny if this was to happen to Donald Trump. So this is from NBC News. Congress faces a shutdown dilemma that could mess with Trump's first 100 days. There is no easy answer for Republicans as they move towards a stopgap bill to push a key government funding deadline to early 2025, which could complicate Trump's other plans. So obviously he will want to, as soon as he goes into power, implement Project 2025 as soon as possible. Once he is inaugurated, and that and many other things, obviously they'll want to implement. Obviously, they need Congress open in order to get things done, because obviously you can't just sign executive orders. There's only so many executive orders that you can do as a president. So he needs Congress working in order for him to do the damage that he's going to be wanting to do. And if Congress is shut down, he will have to wait on things. But the thing is that if Congress does get shut down, and it may seem like a cool thing, a good thing to delay whatever Trump's plans are, the downside is obviously civil workers and that are not going to get paid, which means people are not going to get money. People who work on this, work in Congress and whatnot, not going to get paid. So that's the downside to this. Man, oh man, I like, you hear this all the time about these shutdowns because they have no answers of how they're going to deal with their debts. And they just keep letting their debts pile high, America. And it always seems to be the case. They just let debts continue to pile up, that's for sure. At least one thing is that while the Republicans control everything, they do have a majority in the House, but it is still a slim majority. So there are Democrats in there that will fight tooth and nail in the House for things. So it is very doom and gloom in America. So I do hope that those who have power in the House will be able to use that power for good. That is for sure. So let's read this final piece, guys. So as Congress returns this week for one last burst of activity before it warps up the session, it faces a key deadline of December the 20th to avert a government shutdown. So 20th of December they've got, guys, to sort this out. Democrats and Republicans appear resigned to passing a continuing resolution, or CR, that would temporarily fund the government into early 2025, most likely March, as they run out of time to strike a full funding deal this year. The two parties haven't agreed on an overall spending level for the new fiscal year, let alone how to allocate the money across parts of the government. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, DNY, alluded to the inevitability of a short-term bill on Monday, saying, "We need to keep diverse and unnecessary provisions out of any government funding extensions, or else it'll be harder to get past a CR in time." For Republicans, that's a double-edged sword. The upside for Republicans in punting the deadline is that they would have more leverage to shape the government funding in the new year, with President-elect Donald Trump returning to the White House and the GOP taking control of the Senate and maintaining a narrow House majority. The big downside is it would create a critical deadline early in the Trump presidency, potentially taking valuable time away from confirming his nominees through Senate and from the big party line bill that Republicans are looking to extend his tax cuts and avert his immigration and border security agenda. We've got a lot to do, a lot of things at the same time. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise, our Republican, said in the first 100 days of Trump's second term, "We're going to be walking and chewing gum." Some Republicans would have preferred not to get bogged down with a funding deadline early in the new Trump presidency. "There are a lot of things I would prefer, but realistically, we're not going to put together a budget between now and Christmas. It's not going to happen," Senator John Kennedy had told NBC News. "I expect us to have a CR properly through the middle of March. I expect that CR to be pretty thin." Kennedy added Congress is likely to attach $30 billion or $40 billion to disaster relief to the CR, including fundings for states hit by hurricanes this year. It won't be enough, but it'll be enough to get a start, he says. Funding the government is usually a messy process that requires bipartisan support, as the bill is subject to the Senate's 60-vote threshold. Democrats have significant power to shape the legislation regardless of the deadline, as they hold a majority now and beginning next year. Republicans will have 53 senators, far short of the 60 they need to control the process themselves. Another dynamic is that the passing of a massive Christmas time funding package that would be a non-starter for many House Republicans. And it could imperil House Speaker Mike Johnson's bid to get re-elected to the position on January the 3rd, particularly with the already slim GOP majority shrinking further. Another drawn-out speaker fight could also complicate Trump's presidency a bit in different ways. Johnson's office have no comment on the length of the CR, saying it hasn't been settled yet. Republican Mike Semmel of Ohio, Republican there, a senator member of the Appropriations Committee, which writes the funding bills, said there's little time. wants to decide what they're going to do, if they're going to try and get any of these appropriation bills done before, or whether they're going to do a CR for all of them until March. I mean, that's a real debate. We can't get all of them done, he said. We could probably negotiate if we've got a top line number. We could probably negotiate several, maybe 7 or 8 of the bills to get them done by the 20th. It would have to be to get that number fairly soon. So my guess is, and it's just strictly my guess, is that we'll do a CR for everybody until the end of March, he says. So the clock is ticking, obviously, because obviously a government shutdown could happen during a Trump right at the start of Trump's presidency. Would not be very, very good. That would be very bad going into the Christmas period, if I'm honest. But a part of me is also like, would I cry a river if it happened? Probably not. But I would also feel bad for those who would not get paid during the Christmas period as a direct result of Congress facing the possible shutdown. It's very unlikely. I do think there will be bipartisan agreement in the end, but what that will be obviously remains to be seen. But yeah, it's it may help, it may hinder. We'll see in due course, guys. We'll see in due course. So guys, just before we head out, because we have covered quite a lot today, and we've gone nearly this has been recording for 1 hour and 50 minutes. Good to see you there, Doc Davis. Hope you're doing well. We've got the funny memes to see ourselves out, guys. So don't go anywhere. I've got 8 for you today, guys. 8. Yeah, I've got 8 memes for you guys today, guys, to celebrate the 50th episode live stream of the Snowflakes Corner for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy these ones. This first one, it is a bit cut off at the top, but don't worry, I will say it all for you guys. So right, here we go. 8 for you guys. His police department review is everything. So this is a review for a police department. They were very gentle when they handcuffed me, and their patrol vehicles were incredibly roomy. Overall, very professional. We'll get arrested by them again, for sure. Only 4 stars. 4 stars out of 5. Not the best review. Not the best review. It's just another overly dramatic post. So over dramatic, these people. My wife just walked in, saw me watching this, and asked, why can't I just watch porn like normal men? My first thought is, are you absolutely serious that a woman would say that? That they would rather they watch porn than watch someone talk about the PSG-1 sniper rifle. Me all ready for another exciting day in the living room. You'll understand when you're older. I'm older, and I understand absolutely nothing. Tap on the screen. No, literally, tap on the screen, guys. Tap on the screen. I hate when I go out in public and the public be there. Damn public. I hate going out in public and the public be there. Damn the public for being out there. Why do they have to be out there when I'm out there? God damn it. Guy at work. Wife, I don't believe you. Send me a picture. Here's the guy. See? See, you can see he's at work. What a great selfie picture. See, there's proof he's at work. Wife thinks, yeah, he's flogging off work. Ridiculous. Look at that. More than reasonable. Really, people jump to conclusions, you know. Oh, I hope you guys enjoyed those funny memes there. I think my favourite one out of all of them has to be the tap on the screen one. Because it's literally... I think that one, and the overly dramatic post. I think that was very good one there as well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed those funny memes, guys. That's for sure. So, guys, I wanted to say a massive thank you to everyone who's come along. Thank you, guys, thank you for those who gifted memberships. Alistair Keir gifted memberships earlier on, and those who gave super chats. Steve McMorran and Andrew Luke, who gave super chats today. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. If you've been here from start to finish, I want to say a massive thank you to watch from start to finish as well. This has been a long Snowflake Corners, but it is to celebrate 50th episodes of it. I will be back. The Snowflake Corner will be back at its usual time slot next week at 7 p.m. with the usual stuff there. Obviously, you have a lots going on this week as well. I'll be lurking in Max's live stream, so you guys want to join me there later on, you're more than welcome to join me there as well. But thank you guys all for coming along. Thank you guys for all your comments. Thank you guys for your continued support of me, of the channel, and everything that I'm doing here. I really do appreciate it. Excuse me. I'm hoping for Christmas Day, guys. I will just tell you this now. There won't be no live stream on Christmas Day as opposed to last year. I won't be at home this Christmas. I'll be with some family away. What I'm planning to do is maybe have a premiere video of some special of some sort for you guys on Christmas Day. So at least you guys can come together on Christmas Day if you have nothing else planned. So I haven't decided exactly what it will be, but I want to do something at least so if the chat wanted to come together, they're more than welcome to do so. I may even pop in the chat when we're doing it as well, whenever I put it up as well, guys. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. But as we get a bit closer to the Christmas week, I'll let you guys know what the plans are, because I will be during the Christmas period, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day, and maybe even the day after. I will not be home for a good couple of days. So there will obviously not be live streams during a couple of periods, obviously, which is, I'm sure you guys totally understand, because I'll be spending some time with family and whatnot. But as we get closer to that period, I'll let you guys know exactly what the plan is, because I'm still trying to divide up what to do with them. But before then, there's still the Snowflake Roundtable, and we got this Thursday a chat with One Angry Pagan as well. So plenty of stuff to come forward, guys. So thank you guys again so much for watching. Take care as always. And Christmas tree is here as well. Look, Christmas tree, guys. See? So they didn't have a green one, but it's still a nice one there. It's nice. It's a nice one. Look, one. It's got a nice star on the top of it as well. Nice one there. And then Ollie is he's on top of the lava lamp. So the gang is there. The gang is here, and the orb will return next year. The orb will return next year, but for now we're going to have the Christmas tree to celebrate the festive season anyway. So yeah. Oh well, don't worry, Joe. I'll definitely have something on Christmas Day. I'm going to do something on Christmas Day. It won't be a live stream, but at least a bit. I'm going to try and do a premiere video for you guys at least on Christmas Day. That I'll try and do for you guys anyway. So guys, before I head out, I just have one last thing to say. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing, because it really does help support the channel. If you want to go one step further and financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or you can join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.